Welcome, traveler. Tonight, I invite you to step into a world both familiar and strange. A place where the hum of voices, the smell of warm bread, and the clatter of bowls fill the night.
We often imagine ancient Rome as marble temples, senators in togas, and emperors on thrones. But what about ordinary people? How did they eat, drink, and gather when the day was done? The surprising truth is this: Rome was a city fed by fast food.
Before we begin tonight's journey through those crowded streets, take a moment to settle in. Make yourself comfortable. Adjust your pillow. Let your breathing slow, and allow the quiet glow of an imagined firelight to soften your thoughts.
If you enjoy drifting into history's hidden corners, don't forget to follow this channel so that each night another story can find you, guiding you gently into rest.
Now, close your eyes. The world around you grows dim, and with each breath, we step back in time, nearly 2,000 years, into the heart of ancient Rome. The stones beneath your feet are uneven, worn smooth by centuries of sandals, carts, and hurried steps. The air is heavy tonight, thick with the mingling scents of smoke, oil, and roasting meat. Somewhere nearby, a flute plays a sharp, playful tune, drowned now and then by bursts of laughter. You turn a corner. The street narrows, and there, a warm glow spills into the dark. It comes from a shop, no bigger than a stall, its front wide open to the street. A counter of polished marble stretches across the opening, and carved into it are deep, round holes. Clay jars sit inside them, steam rising from their mouths. This is no palace, no banquet hall. This is the thermopolium, the Roman answer to fast food. You pause at the threshold. The counter glistens with oil. The jars hold stews of lentils and pork, fish flavored with garum, chickpeas seasoned with cumin. The smell is overwhelming, salty, sharp, comforting. Your stomach stirs in response. Behind the counter, the vendor wipes his hands on a worn tunic. His hair is dark with sweat. He does not greet you like a friend, but like a man who has seen countless customers come and go. His eyes flick to the coins in your hand before they meet your face. Business first, always. A laborer leans against a wall, his arms thick from hauling stone. He dunks a crust of bread into a steaming bowl, then tears it with his teeth. Beside him, a soldier drinks watered wine, his laugh booming as he tells a story of the frontier. Children dart between the crowd, snatching olives from bowls when the vendor's back is turned. Nobody scolds them. Not here. Not here. Not in this place of the people. The thermopolium is alive. It breathes. It hums. Every corner of Rome is fed here. The vendor reaches into one of the jars, lifts a ladle heavy with lentils and pork, and pours it into a clay bowl. He sets it on the counter with a crust of bread, rough on the outside, soft within. You lift it. The bread is warm, the stew thick, steam rising into the night. The first bite is earthy and sharp, the taste of garlic, herbs, and something stronger.
a tang of garum, the fish sauce Romans pour on everything. The flavors are bold, unapologetic, not subtle or delicate like banquets of the rich. This food is meant to fill the belly, to warm the bones after a long day of labor. And yet, there is something beautiful in its simplicity. A meal for soldiers, a meal for workers, a meal for you.
As you eat, you notice something. There are no kitchens in the cramped apartments above. Wood fires are dangerous. Accidents spread quickly. So most Romans, the poor, the working class, even the middling, rely on places like this.
Without the thermopolium, Rome itself could not survive. It is not a luxury, it is a lifeline. The city is vast, its people countless, and every alley, every forum, every market has shops like this one. But it is not just food. It is life itself.
Here, deals are struck, friendships are forged, arguments erupt and fade with the clatter of bowls.
The thermopolium is as much a meeting place as it is a kitchen.
The vendor knows this.
His hands move quickly, but his ears are everywhere. He hears gossip before senators do. He learned secrets that never reached the marble halls of power. And sometimes history itself shifts in places like this. The wooden bench creaks as you sit, bowl in hand. The warmth of the stew fills you from within, grounding you in the strange city that already feels alive beneath your skin.
Beside you, the soldier leans in, his bronze helmet resting on the counter. He grins, showing teeth worn down by years of hard bread and grit.
Better than the rations on campaign, he says, tapping his bowl with a laugh. Out there, you chew dry barley until your jaw aches. But here, he scoops another mouthful. Here you can almost forget the mud and the blood. He gestures with his spoon toward the vendor. The vendor shrugs, pretending not to hear. But a quick smirk flickers across his face. A jug is passed down the counter. The soldier pours wine into a clay cup, a deep red, but thin. Romans rarely drink wine straight. It's always mixed with water. To them, only barbarians drink it strong. Here, in this shop, the wine tastes rough, sour, but it does its job, easing the tongue, loosening the mind. Outside, the street hums. The clatter of hooves on stone, the bark of a dog, a vendor calling out figs, dates, roasted nuts. It feels strangely familiar, like walking through a busy food market in New York, or passing by food trucks in Los Angeles at night. The noise, the movement, the endless choice. It's all there, only with tunics instead of jeans, marble counters instead of stainless steel. A woman enters, her shawl pulled close around her shoulders. Her eyes are tired. In her arms, a small boy clings to her tunic. She counts out her coins carefully, one by one. The vendor gives her a bowl of barley porridge, thickened with beans. No meat, no extras, but still warm, filling. She sets it before the boy, who devours it quickly, his spoon scraping against the clay. She doesn't eat, not tonight. Her hunger can wait. This scene is no fiction. For many Romans, meals were small, plain, and shared. Bread and porridge made the backbone of their diet. Meat was rare, too costly for most. So when you picture Rome, don't just see emperors feasting on roasted peacocks. See her, too. The mother, the boy, the meal stretched thin. Across the counter, a trader in dusty clothes chews on bread rubbed with garlic. He closes his eyes with each bite, savoring. Garlic, for him, is more than flavor. It is memory. He grew up in the hills outside the city, where his mother planted rows of garlic in the soil. He eats it now, and he remembers home. Romans believed garlic gave strength, courage, and even protection. Soldiers carried it into battle. Laborers ate it before long days of work. Even athletes chewed it before games. For us, it's pizza topping. For them, it was almost sacred. The trader wipes his mouth and sighs. Tomorrow he will leave again, heading south with a caravan, carrying jars of wine and oil. But tonight, he tastes home. At the far end of the counter, two men lean close, whispering between bites of chickpeas. Their voices are low, but their gestures are sharp. The vendor pretends to ignore them, but he catches fragments. A name, a plan, a promise of coins. Deals are made here as often as meals are eaten. Politics, love affairs, betrayals. They all pass through the thermopolium. Some believe the city runs on marble and laws, but really it runs on bread, wine, and whispers. A thud echoes overhead. A voice shouts. A child cries. The apartments above the shop are crowded, cramped, noisy. Most are built from wood, rising several stories high, leaning dangerously close to one another. Cooking inside them is risky. A single spark can burn down the block. That is why people come here. That is why the thermopolium exists. It is not just convenience. It is survival. Imagine a city of 1 million people, packed tighter than New York or Chicago. No gas stoves, no refrigerators, no grocery stores. Only fire, clay ovens, and these bustling shops. Rome was not built on gladiators or senators. It was built on the simple meals of people like these. From the next jar, the vendor lifts a ladle of stew thick with fish sauce. The smell is sharp, salty, almost overwhelming. Some nearby wrinkle their noses. Others lean closer, hungry. This is garum, fermented fish sauce, the taste of Rome. It is poured on everything: meat, beans, bread, even fruit. To us, it might smell strange, but to a Roman, it is irresistible. Garum factories line the coasts of Spain and Africa. Workers gut fish, pack them in salt, and let the sun do the rest. Weeks later, the liquid drained is bottled and shipped here. It is as common as ketchup is today, and as profitable as gold. The soldier licks his spoon satisfied. The poor woman wrinkles her nose, but the boy eats anyway. To him, it is simply food.
The night deepens. The laughter softens. One by one, bowls are emptied, coins exchanged, and the thermopolium grows quieter and quieter until only the whisper of darkness remains. The vendor wipes down the counter with a rag, scraping crumbs into a basket. He blows out the oil lamps, and the warm glow fades into shadow. Above, the noise of the apartments continues. Babies crying, men arguing, women singing softly. But down here, the shop rests. Another day done. And so ends one night in the heart of Rome. The shutters of the thermopolium close with a hollow thud. The night in Rome deepens. But our journey is far from over. For food in Rome was never just about hunger. It was about power, wealth, memory, and even faith. Every flavor, every spice, every ingredient carried a story. And if you listen closely, the city still whispers those stories. Imagine the empire stretched wide, from the misty forests of Britain to the sands of Egypt, to the deserts of Syria, to the shores of Spain. Across these vast lands, ships creak with cargo. Camels plod along desert roads, and wagons rattle over mountain passes. All of it to bring food to Rome. Black pepper from India, cinnamon from Arabia, dates from the oases of North Africa, wine from Gaul, olive oil from Spain. Rome is not just a city. It is a hungry beast, fed by the labor of the world. A caravan winds its way through a hot, dry desert. The merchants are tired, their robes stained with dust, but the sacks they carry are precious. Inside them are tiny black grains, pepper. To us, it's common, sitting on every diner table across America, next to salt, sprinkled without thought. But to a Roman, pepper was treasure. It flavored their meats, their fish, their wine. It was a sign of wealth, and sometimes even a gift fit for emperors. There are tales, some true, some whispered, that when Rome was attacked by barbarians, the ransom demanded was not just gold, but also pepper. Now step away from the crowded thermopolium. Enter instead a grand villa. Marble floors gleam. Torches flicker on the walls. Here, food is not survival. It is theater. The wealthy recline on couches, leaning on one elbow as slaves bring dish after dish. Platters of roasted dormice sprinkled with honey and poppy seeds. Bowls of oysters fresh from the coast. Peacocks, their feathers dyed and spread wide for display. The air is heavy with perfume, and the laughter of the guests mixes with the music of flutes. This, too, is Rome. Not the hungry boy in the thermopolium, not the garlic-eating trader, but the elite, eating to show that they can. And yet, even here, In marble halls, pepper reigns, sprinkled on meat, in wine, on fruit. A taste of empire in every bite. But Romans did not eat only with their mouths. They ate with their minds, with their superstitions. Garlic for strength, cabbage as medicine, fish sauce, garum as a cure for almost anything. There are records of Roman doctors prescribing lettuce for sleep and wine mixed with herbs for courage. Food was not just nourishment, it was protection, healing, even magic. Picture a mother pressing bread into her child's hand, not just to feed him, but to ward off hunger spirits. Imagine a soldier swallowing garlic before battle, not just for strength, but for luck. For Romans, every meal held meaning. The night draws us farther to the port of Ostia, where ships rock gently in the dark. One ship has come from Egypt. Its hold smells of cinnamon, cloves, and pepper. Sailors step onto the dock, their skin darkened by weeks beneath the sun. Their voices carry accents from lands far away. They are tired, hungry, but proud. For the cargo they bring will not just feed Rome. It will delight it. It will amaze it. It will prove, once again, that Rome's reach has no limits. The crates are lifted onto carts. The merchants rub their hands, already dreaming of coins clinking into their purses. And somewhere in the city, a wealthy woman will sprinkle a pinch of cinnamon into her wine tonight and smile, never thinking of the miles it traveled to reach her lips. But while the rich sip spiced wine, the poor still wait for bread. The grain fleets from Egypt are the empire's lifeblood. Without them, Rome starves. The government knows this. That is why they distribute grain to the people, the famous annona, the dole. Crowds gather at dawn, waiting for their ration. Mothers clutch baskets. Old men lean on sticks. Children fidget, restless. When the sacks are opened, the smell of wheat drifts into the air. For some, this bread is the only constant in life. Not honeyed dormice, not cinnamon wine, just bread. Simple, plain, essential. In a quiet courtyard, away from banquets and politics, a family sits around a low table. Their meal is modest: goat cheese, olives, bread, and a jug of watered milk. The father works as a mason. The mother weaves cloth. The children chase one another until they are breathless. When they eat, they laugh, telling stories of the day. This, more than anything, is Rome. Not emperors, not wars, but families, sharing simple meals in the flickering light. As the night deepens, the city rests, but the flavors remain. Garlic on a trader's breath, pepper on a senator's plate, bread in a child's hand, wine on a soldier's lips. Rome is built not only on stone and law, but on taste, on memory, on the everyday act of eating together. And tonight, you have tasted it too. The courtyard meal fades. The sound of children's laughter drifts into the night.
But across the city, in marble halls and torch-lit villas, another kind of feast begins. For Rome was a world of contrasts. Bread for the many, extravagance for the few. And when the wealthy gathered, their banquets were not just meals, they were performances, a theater of power, wealth, and appetite. A villa rises above the Suburra, the crowded district of the poor. Torches burn at its gates. Inside, slaves bustle, carrying trays, filling lamps, arranging cushions. Guests arrive in fine togas, their sandals polished, their hair oiled. They recline on couches, leaning on one elbow, their free hand already reaching for wine. The host, a senator with sharp eyes and a voice that fills the room, claps once. The feast begins. Bowls appear first. Eggs sprinkled with herbs, olives glossy with oil, and small fish, salted, seasoned, laid out with care. The guests murmur approval, though their eyes flick to the doorway, waiting for what comes next. A musician plucks the strings of a lyre. The laughter grows louder, and more dishes arrive. This is no ordinary supper. It is excess. It is theater. A roasted peacock is carried in, its feathers dyed bright colors, its tail fanned wide like a display of jewels. A pig is brought whole, its belly stuffed with sausages and figs. When cut open, the filling spills out like treasure. Platters of oysters, imported at great expense, gleam under the lamplight. Proof of power, proof of Rome's reach. Jugs of wine circulate constantly, but Romans do not drink it pure. Water, honey, herbs, even ashes are mixed in. To them, drinking unmixed wine is barbaric. Cups are filled, emptied, and filled again. Tongues loosen, voices rise. The air thickens with heat and noise. One guest tells a tale of a general's triumph in Parthia. Another whispers of political plots. Another laughs too loudly, spilling wine onto the marble floor. On one tray sits a bowl of small, round creatures. At first, they look like rolls of bread. But no, they are dormice. Roasted, stuffed with honey and poppy seeds. A delicacy for the wealthy. The guests bite into them eagerly, the sweetness mingling with savory fat. For us, the thought may seem strange, but for Rome, it was luxury. But let us step back, for while these guests gorge on peacocks and dormice, most of the city eats bread, beans, porridge, and cheese. In the Suburra, a laborer licks his fingers after a supper of lentils. A soldier shares barley stew with comrades. A child chews on a crust of bread, hard but filling. Rome is two cities at once, one of plenty and one of survival. At these banquets, superstition walks hand in hand with indulgence. A senator refuses cabbage, believing it dulls the mind. Another insists on eating lettuce at the end of the meal, convinced it aids sleep.
Some swear by garum, the fish sauce, as a cure for stomach aches, fevers, even wounds.
Food is medicine. Food is magic. Food is power. And yet, it is also joy. Every bite, every sip is a reminder that to eat well is to live well.
But not every Roman heart is content at these banquets. Picture one senator reclining among the crowd. He eats little, he drinks slowly. His eyes drift, his thoughts elsewhere. Later that night, when the feast is over, he slips into the streets, his toga traded for a simple cloak. He walks quickly, quietly, until he reaches a small thermopolium. There he orders bread, cheese, and a bowl of beans. He eats in silence, unnoticed, and for the first time that night, he smiles. For in this humble meal, there is something no banquet can buy: simplicity, peace.
Far from villas and politics, in the training grounds of gladiators, meals are different still.
Known as barley men, gladiators eat diets heavy with beans and grains. Not meat, not delicacies, but dense, filling food that builds muscle and endurance. Before combat, they drink a tonic of vinegar and ash, a strange mix believed to strengthen bones. Their food is not for joy. It is for survival, for the arena where one wrong step means death. And so, in the flickering lamplight of Rome, meals tell stories of wealth and poverty, of superstition and science, of power and weakness. Food is never just food. It is memory. It is identity. It is Rome itself. The banquet's noise fades into the night. The lamps burn low, and Rome, restless as it is, shifts once more. For in this city, food is more than taste or survival. It is faith. It is ritual. It is power. And sometimes it is fear. At dawn, a priest walks barefoot into the temple courtyard. The marble is cool beneath his feet. He carries a basket of bread, still warm from the oven. Before the statue of Jupiter, he kneels. The loaves are laid out, broken, and left as offering. Smoke curls upward from a brazier, carrying prayers to the heavens. All across Rome, small shrines glow with the same ritual. Families leave bread and wine for household gods, believing these simple gifts protect their homes from harm. Even the poorest, with little to spare, set aside a crust or a sip of wine. Better to go hungry than to anger the divine. But food was not always solemn. At Saturnalia, the winter festival, Rome erupted in joy. Slaves sat at the tables of their masters. Children sang through the streets, their hands sticky with honey cakes. Men drank spiced wine until they reeled. The rules of the world turned upside down. Rich and poor, master and servant, all sharing feasts together beneath the glow of torches. It was laughter, song, and indulgence. A moment when bread and wine were not survival, but celebration. Yet, Rome's hunger was never far from fear. Imagine the harbor at Ostia, its docks bare, the grain ships delayed by storms, In the city, bread grows scarce. Crowds gather at the forum, their voices rising. Mothers clutch children, their eyes desperate. Men shout at officials, demanding answers.
A food riot breaks out. Shops are smashed. Streets run wild.
For Rome without grain is Rome in chaos. The empire may command legions, but it bows to hunger. Food could heal. Food could unite. But it could also kill. Stories drift through the city of poisoned banquets, of emperors and senators meeting their ends over goblets of wine. The wealthy taste every dish with caution. Slaves are forced to test food before their masters eat. Trust is rare at the table of power. And even for the common people, danger lurks. Bakers, desperate for profit, sometimes mix chalk or sawdust into flour. Others add alum, a whitener that sickens slowly. Bread that looks pure may carry hidden poison.
Every bite in Rome is a gamble.
But let us not end in fear. Instead, return once more to the humble thermopolium.
The vendor stands in the quiet, stacking clay bowls, sweeping crumbs from the counter. The city outside has hushed. Only the crackle of a torch remains. He pours himself a final cup of watered wine, sits on the bench and sighs. For all the grandeur, all the banquets, all the offerings to gods, in the end, Rome rests on simple meals, on bread, on beans, on the warmth of a shared table. He finishes his drink, leans back, and closes his eyes. And so the city sleeps. The night in Rome is endless, but your journey tonight is done. You have walked its noisy streets, smelled its spices, sat in its banquets, and tasted both its joys and fears. Now, let the city fade. Let the lamps dim, and let your thoughts drift softly, like a grain ship rocking gently across the sea. Sleep well. Tomorrow history will wait for you again. Good night.